Alright, what's going on, guys? Trev back again, here to bring you another video. This one's going to be doing part 8 in my Q&A series leading up to the second half of The Walking Dead Season 5. In this one, we're going to start with the question, do I still think Morales is going to return? And also giving my thoughts on him and the rumors, so to speak. I guess at this point it'd just be fan speculation that we may see him in the spin-off Walking Dead television series, Cobalt. Okay, yeah, so to the first question, or the first part of the question, spoiler warning, by the way, if anyone's not caught up, you know, the same usual stuff with the Morales thing. So, you know, he had posted the picture on his Twitter, not dead, everything like that. He was doing some tour dates, I think, with some of the Walking Dead cast at their, meet and greets that they do where they meet fans and they do autograph signing and that kind of stuff. And, so who is the character who are we talking about here? Well, we're talking about the character at the beginning of The Walking Dead Season 1 that pretty much first meets Rick, and he, introduces him to the walkers over the rooftop. So they go and they look down, welcome to Officer Friendly from up the road a ways, welcome to the big city, and then they look down and you see that. Now, he's the one in Season 1 who left with his family, and we never saw from him again, or heard of him again. Now, because he had released that picture and everything like that, saying that he wasn't dead because he was doing the dates, I was under the impression, as a lot of us were, that we were going to see him again this season. Halfway point at this time, still haven't seen or heard of him or anything of the sort. However, I do think it might make sense that he may be a resident of the next community that our group runs into. Should they find the Alexandria safe zone in the second half of this season, does it make sense that he would be there? I think it does, and I think they should go that route. And I do kind of want to see him again. He's kind of like that last character that's out there in the Walking Dead universe, so to speak, world, that we don't know where he is in terms of the Walking Dead TV series. Everybody else pretty much, at least from the core group, that has split or something has happened, has been resolved at this point. We know pretty much everything about every other character and what's happened with them. Monroe came back. We saw him in Season 3. Morgan's on his way, this kind of thing. There are not too many other leftovers out there. So with him being one of the last ones with his family and that, I'm hoping we'll see him this season. Now, in terms of the kind of fan speculation that he might be in the spinoff series, well, he could be, because that's in Los Angeles, that kind of thing. But would it make sense that he was able to get all the way from there to LA, for the spinoff? It's kind of loose. And also, the spinoff series, as far as we know, is not going to take place in the same timeline as the current series. So when it starts, for example, it could start at the very beginning of the zombie apocalypse outbreak. It may not start where our characters are at right now in the original series, and probably won't, to tell you the truth. So I think it's more likely that we'll see Morales in the original, series, again, and I hope that we'll see him by the end of this season. And I'll say this too: if we don't see him by about the end of this season, we probably never will. He probably never will return, or maybe Season 6 he could be a part of another community they run into or something. But after that, I think if they don't bring him back in by about that time, pretty soon, then we're never going to see the character again. That said, we are getting to see Morgan return, right? Morgan's probably going to run into the group. So does it make sense they would put two, character flashback type characters that are coming back into the storyline together in the same season? Maybe they want to split it up. But with Morales, if they don't bring him in pretty soon, I tend to think they never will. So I hope they do. I hope they do. Let me know what you guys think about that. If you have any kind of inside information, let me know. But I hope we do see him. I'd say I still am kind of expecting to see him before the end of Season 6. If not, then I'll start not expecting to see him at all permanently. So yeah, those are my thoughts on that first topic. And got a chance, I'll say this too before I get into some more other questions, got a chance to watch the actress, I did a video on her, who's been cast as the lead female in the spinoff series. I got a chance to watch the movie Gone Girl, directed by David Fincher. Also Ben Affleck is in it, and she is the lead detective detective in it, and she is fantastic. Is it Kim Dickens? Yeah, Kim Dickens. Yeah. Almost mispronounced that one. But yeah, yeah, her. She's really good though. Seriously, as the detective in that movie. If you haven't seen Gone Girl, I would recommend it. It's a really cool movie, and it's got some nice twists in it, stuff like that. And also, if you want to get an idea of that actress and what she's done before, check it out, because it is really, really good, really, really good movie. I really liked it a lot. And her acting is amazing. She's really, really good. Plays a really strong female, really cool. So can't wait to see her in the spin-off series and see how that goes. Okay, so those are my thoughts on that. In terms of the questions we got for this one, we'll start off with first one's from Erik Goodmansson. He sent through a couple. I'll touch on them briefly, and he sent them through for Q&A questions. By the way, I have a lot of others. I just haven't added them to the list, so keep sending me your guys' Q&A questions. I'll keep building them, and then you may see them in a video in about a few days to a week's time, that type of thing. Because considering we only really have like 5 weeks until the return of The Walking Dead, which really isn't that much, so that'll give me at least, I'll probably do maybe 2 Q&As a week, so maybe about another 10 Q&As. So I have time for a lot of your questions. Anyway, first one from him is, what caused the virus? What caused the outbreak? And I've done a video on this before. Give my thoughts on it in the channel. And basically, what I said in that was I actually like the Z Nation explanation of it. Is that it's basically designed as a weapon, and then kind of ran rampant. And I really like what they did in Z Nation near the season finale there, season 1, where we get to meet the doctor, who he wasn't trying to cure the zombie infection, which is what they first thought. This is the guy that created it. Now, I just think that's a really cool, it's kind of an out there concept, but if you're talking about zombie apocalypse, it must have began somehow, and I think it would have been created by mankind in some capacity. I also like the 28 Days Later rage type beginnings theory, so you can watch that movie too if you want to see. They do some experiments. I think it was Cambridge or something, somewhere in the UK, that they were doing some kind of, or in London or something, experiments on apes with the rage virus, and that's how it was created. So I like all those kind of ideas. I think it would be man-made, to tell you the truth. I think it just makes the most sense. The next one is the whole world infected, and do you think there is any government anywhere in the world? Well, I mean, small communities in that, they'll form their own government, right? There may be some government in terms of, countries that are out there, but how much? I wouldn't think very much a couple years after the zombie apocalypse. I think most of them would be destroyed for the most part. Even the U.S. government, they may be in a bunker somewhere, but they're going to run out of supplies eventually. However, they may have enough to survive for a very long time, but it's not. Is it really living? They're kind of trapped underground, that kind of thing. I don't know. I guess it is, but maybe. But we'll have to see if we ever see something like that. Day of the Dead is a pretty cool movie that deals with that kind of concept of kind of a military underground bunker type thing where they're surviving. It's a pretty cool one too. I can recommend that one too. It's also on YouTube. You can search it up, Day of the Dead. I've actually thought about doing a review for that. I don't think I've reviewed that yet, or have I? Sometimes I forget even all the videos I do. I have to look back and see. Maybe that's something I could do too before The Walking Dead returns. So yeah, there's that. Next one, question 3 from him is, how many zombies do you think are left in the world? Well, I'd say most, majority of them. The ones that have died or have starved or have been killed off, out of, let's say, 7 billion or something, whatever the population of the world is now, because it keeps going up every time I check. People stop having so many kids. Overpopulation. It's going to be a big problem in the future. So I would say with zombies, you're looking at probably 95% of the human population, maybe 90% a couple years later, or 85% due to starvation and due to them getting themselves killed, or some survivors killing them. But majority would still be alive, I would think, because there's so many of the human beings that have just turned. And his last question is, if walkers get weaker over time, can they eventually die off? Well, logically, yeah, they would, wouldn't they? Logically, they would decompose and decay just at a slower rate than we would, and after a few years, most of them would starve out and die, yeah, because eventually they'd run out of food, and unless they're eating each other, then yeah, they would die. But with regards to the story and everything, you'd think that if it's a zombie apocalypse and everybody dies out and there's just nothing, there's no zombies. That's not a zombie apocalypse anymore. So I think they are decaying, but I think that with the pace of Walking Dead goes, where you get like 5 seasons in 2 years or so, even 4 or 5 years down the road, that's going to be like 20 to 30 seasons. So it wouldn't matter anyway, right? With that series. But if you want to speak logically, yeah, they would eventually. Next one's from Nicholas Slater, and he says, how many main characters do you expect to die in the second half of season 5? So I'm thinking about 2, maybe 3, but that's it, because we did get the Bob death, which was really sad and everything like that. We did get the Beth death, so that one was as well too. So in the current format they're going, I don't think they want to go with that kind of earlier Walking Dead approach where you have so many main character deaths. That said, we could get like new add-on character deaths like crazy, right? So they add on characters and then they're killed off right away. Similar to season 4. They did a lot of that season 4 where Rick's group adds on all of Woodbury, and before you know it, with half a season, they're all dead, and the only ones that are left are Rick's core group. So yeah, they'll kill characters like that. But in terms of the actual cast, I'd say probably only a couple. If probably not even 3, probably like 2, or maybe even just 1. Who knows? We'll see. Next one's from Robert Jacobs, and he says, "Hey Trev, who do you think could play Paul Monroe? His nickname's Jesus, and he'll be arriving pretty soon. I think within a season or 2. Most people think Scott Adkins, but I think Jason David Frank, Green and White Rangers, would be better. He was, and I think he's done some MMA too. I don't know how much, but he's trained in martial arts, and he's still. That's kind of cool that he's still doing his thing that he was doing back in the Power Rangers. Like he's dedicated his career to being like a movie martial artist, so to speak, which is cool, and a real martial artist too, mixed martial artist. I can't remember if you touched on the subject in your Jesus Spotlight video. Well, not really, because I don't think it's going to be a big actor. I think it's just going to be like some random, who knows, type person, low budget type actor. I don't think it'll be a big name, actor like the ones you mentioned here. I don't even think we'll get to see anything like that. Scott Adkins doesn't really look like him. He's super badass and would be good for Batman, yeah. But in terms of this character, he just doesn't look like him that much to me, even though he could definitely pull off all the moves and everything. But Jason David Frank actually looks a lot like him, because I think his hair is brown naturally, isn't it? So if he grew his hair long, it'd be perfect. But again, for this TV series, I mean, we might just get some random, who knows, right? And what the interpretation of him will be in a TV show. As long as you get somebody who's good with martial arts, can throw some high kicks and that kind of stuff, then we're good. We should be fine. So that should be cool. But yeah, I don't think it's going to be a big name actor, unfortunately, I have to say. This one's more of an opinion, but I wanted to add it anyway because I thought it was kind of cool. This is from Landmine 420, and he says, "My opinion of the Hunters. I wish they were the main villains for the first half. The best story arcs suck compared to the Hunters' termites. I'm with you, they were killed off too soon." This was in the Were the Hunters Killed Off Too Soon video I did a little while ago. I think it was like over a week ago. "The last 8 episodes could have been amazing, but as the first 3, he says, so far, 4 out of 8 episodes were great. I liked the episode when Eugene said he wasn't a scientist. Yeah, no, I like that too. I thought that was really well done. I also liked seeing Daryl and Carol going through the city. I thought that was cool too for the most part. Yes, the van fall was a little bit glitchy. It shouldn't have fallen like that. So there's some problems with it. And I don't know necessarily if that's the best decision. If you've got like maybe 12 walkers, are you going to either jump, like go off the van, just fight your way through them or something? I don't know. Yeah, let's see here. And then he says, Q&A, do you wish Beth disappeared like Merle Dixon and came back season 6 instead of forcing us to watch a half-assed story arc and killing her off lame style? Well, I feel like Beth got as much time as she could have possibly had in the series based on the character that she was. I don't think she's a Merle type character. Merle is a really, really interesting character, and kind of was at the beginning, because he's kind of in between that bad guy, good guy, which is always interesting. Of maybe not an anti-hero, but can Daryl change him to be good? He's in between. He's one of those type of characters that's really, really interesting, because he's in between, right? But with Beth, she became a lot better of a character than I think she started out as. You guys know I've mentioned that many times. Yeah, I wish they would have. Here's what I think. Here's what I would do personally. I would have extended the Hunter's termite story arc. I would have put maybe one more death in that, and extended that maybe 2 episodes or 1 episode, and then had maybe let's see, still had the Eugene stuff, but maybe cut it back a little bit, so not have it take up the whole episode, and then take the Daryl and Carol episode and shrink that down a little bit. You don't have to cut much out of it because it was really good, but shrink it a bit. But definitely episode 4, which is the time we spend the whole time there at Slabtown at the hospital, which now we're never going to see again. But it was kind of like a best story with her and Dawn in that. And I thought that was pretty good, but I would have shrunk that down a bit, given the termites at least maybe 4 full episodes, maybe 5, and then give the other 3 to Beth and that stuff. Just kind of work it in. Minimize some of the stuff that was kind of, slowed it down, slowed the pacing down and stuff. Like Glenn and Tara there in the last episode, and Rosita going to get, what was they were getting, fish or water or something? I forget. Water, I think. But, that kind of thing. Just, see, I can't even really remember what it was. That's how, if I can't remember it after I've seen the episode 2 or 3 times that clearly, obviously it wasn't that important, right? So I think they just could have, they could have shrunk it a bit. But that said, though, we're dealing with a 16-episode season, which is a ton to do. They got to have some slow parts in there somewhere. They just have to. They can't do that many episodes and keep it all the way through like crazy pace. So, but yeah, I mean, I totally agree with him. I think the Hunters were killed off too soon, and they should have been extended a bit. So those are kind of my thoughts on that. And we'll do one more for this one. And this one he says, okay, so this one's from, let's see, L. Lynn Sid 123, and he says, how long into a zombie apocalypse do you think the Whisperers? Now this is like a comic book type one, because this is a group. If you guys haven't seen my video, who are the Whisperers? Check it out. It's in the channel. Just click the channel name, you'll find it. So he says, how long do you think in the zombie apocalypse the Whisperers started using that method, and do you think that once they are introduced on the TV show, that the producers will use them to retroactively explain the walkers that do smart things like using rocks to break windows? Okay, so this is a really smart question. He brings up that. So that's something we have not seen for like a super long time, which is where you would have a walker smash something or turn a knob. If you remember back to like the first couple episodes of The Walking Dead, you had Morgan's wife turning the handle, looking inside, that kind of thing, exhibiting some intelligent behavior. You had the one walker that took a big rock and smashed in the glass when Rick and the others were inside way back in season 1, Andrea and the rest. I don't think they're going to do that. I think that, now, see, them doing that, we haven't seen them do it since. However, it is faithful. See, at first I said, when I reviewed this the first time at the beginning of the series, that they don't do that. A zombie wouldn't pick up a rock, or a zombie wouldn't do, turn a knob, or do things like that, or try to climb a ladder. They just wouldn't do that. Actually, incorrect. The original George A. Romero movies, you would have zombies that would grab things and use them and break things. And now he goes a little further with this in the future, where he'll have a zombie like the Butcher, where he'll have like a cleaver, and he'll use it to cut through a fence so that the zombies can get through. And now that's going a little bit further with the whole smart walker ideas, but smart zombies. But I do like the concept to have a little bit of intelligence to the freshly turned zombies that have not decayed. Makes sense to me. It's just because most of the zombies we see now are so old and that kind of thing. This is the way I explain it, is that they don't do that much anymore because their brain's decaying, their body's decaying, everything like that. They're not operating. But the fresh turned ones are a bit smarter, and they will do things like that. So in other words, that concept is faithful to the concept of zombies. in the Dead movies, which are the original for what everything else we're looking at is based off of. The Walking Dead is based off George A. Romero's stuff, The Dead, right? Dead trilogy, and then the further movies too. So I don't think they'll do anything like that. But to answer your first part of your question, how long do you think the Whisperers started using that method? I would think after a few months they would kind of pick up the idea, because Carol kind of has too, right? But she doesn't wear the flesh totally. She's just put on some stuff. Rick has done that with the guts trick and masking himself. Michonne has used the walkers around her and the cloak and everything. So yeah, I would think probably within a little while. But in terms of the smart walkers, those were zombies. Those were not, definitely Morgan's wife was a zombie. I think the walker that used the rock was also a zombie, as far as I can tell. I don't think that was a person. No, that's not the case. So anyway, but I am excited to see the walkers in the TV series, or the Whisperers in the TV series, when we eventually do. And yeah. So that's it for this Q&A, guys. Send me the rest of your questions that you have, and I'll do another one probably pretty soon. Or if you have any specific video topics, top 5s, top 10s, reviews, things you want to see me do. Thinking about doing a couple throwbacks, but I'm not 100% sure. Maybe I'll just pick a couple cool episodes. Let me know what you think, and if you like the video, please thumb it up below. If you want to help support the channel, please share it, favorite it, tell someone else about it. And yeah, that's it for this one, guys. See you in a couple days, probably. As always, it's Trev. Same peace.